Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another CLIP webinar. It's great to have all of you with us today. I hope that the information we present this morning can help you use CLIP even better and become even more successful. The webinar is over programs and rounds from start to finish. My name is Cherish, and I, along with Stephen, will be presenting this morning's webinar. How are you doing today, Stephen?
Doing super. Keeping warm and glad to be here with you guys today.
Great, great. Well, I actually worked for CLIPmon here for a few months as an office assistant, so I'm familiar with some of CLIP's everyday features, but not nearly as familiar as Stephen, who is currently head of the support department. I did study up for this webinar today because I'll be kind of guiding us through, and then Stephen will answer all the hard questions for us and explain anything that's past my level of expertise. As many of you know, this was rather a spontaneous webinar. Originally, we were going to be talking about the third secret to extreme profitability with minimal management, and that was identifying your customer. But after all the questions and requests that we had for Programs and Rounds webinar, we decided to postpone the identifying your customer until next week. You'll get an email on Monday with more information about that, as always. All right, so if you have any questions throughout the webinar, you can go ahead and just type those into the questions box, and we'll try to get to as many of those as we can. We don't have as much staff as we usually do because there's a conference going on that some of our staff is at for this webinar. So we'll try to get to as many as we can. We won't be able to answer everyone's questions. If we don't get to one, you can always email support@clip.com or give them a call, and they'll get back to you as soon as they can. As you can see on our screen, we have the new CLIP update that we're using today, and it is now available to all of you. And I'll go ahead and pull up the link. You can download it from our website under the Updates tab. Make sure you make a backup before you do the update. We always want to remind our customers of that right here. And then
All right, so
it looks like we're having some trouble.
Someone's not able to see our screen. So I am going to just, let's see.
We'll just check up on this for a second. But the update you can, and the password for the update, or if you need the password for the update, go ahead and email support@clip.com, and they can go ahead and do that for you.
Are you guys able to see any of the
I think
screens?
it's just here that we need to go ahead and close this poll, and then we'll be able to go ahead.
There we are.
And
I'm not sure if you guys see that or not.
All right. So I think it's because we went ahead and pressed the button there. All right. So now we have that update. You can see that, or you can get that at clip.com or email support@clip.com. And when you have the update, it'll automatically be the old screen. You won't see this nice new screen that we have, but there's information in the manual on how to change that if you would like. All right, so I emailed I sent the link out to the manual for Programs and Rounds to everyone. Like I mentioned earlier, you can go ahead and look through that as we go through the webinar, and I might just go ahead and send it out one more time for anyone who just now joined us. And there we are. All right, so the first thing that we need to do, or with Programs and Rounds, is give you some definitions here. So we'll just pull up the program or pattern programs, and we'll look at this. An easy way to think about it is a package of jelly beans. That's the illustration that we came up with. The program is the package, and the rounds are the jelly beans. And actually, first of all, programs and rounds are used for chemical applications. I mentioned that in the invitation and everything. But in case anyone's confused, that's what it is used for. So the jelly beans would be the rounds, and the program would be the package. And the rounds, or the jelly beans, they work practically the same way as jobs. They go into the workbank, you record them as done, and you post the work, and it goes into the history for the customers, just like jobs. So the program isn't an actual job, but the rounds are. The only difference between rounds and normal jobs is jobs you do the same job over and over again for a customer, except rounds are sequential. So you do one after another. So you don't do round 2 until after round 1. You can edit that a little bit and post rounds at different times.
The main difference is the scheduling, the way you do scheduling for programs and rounds and jobs. Jobs, you set them up on a schedule. Programs and rounds, you don't necessarily have a schedule, but you just throw them into the workbank whenever it's time. And we'll get into that a little bit later.
All right, so then usually in CLIP we start with the pattern when we're setting something up, But with programs and rounds, that is actually not the case. We start by setting up our chemical lists. So to do that, you'll go to System, Chemical/Materials, and then Chemical List. And then we'll just go through real quick adding a new chemical. Stephen, go ahead and define all those fields for us.
So here we have our chemical list here, and we're going to, like Cherish said, we're just going to add a new chemical. So the first thing we're going to start off is just a chemical code. Now that's just a letter or digit code that you will use to recognize your chemical. So for this example here, we'll go ahead and just put one. So we'll just put test in here, just so that way we know that this is the one that we're just doing. Actually, we already have one. I guess we created this one yesterday. So let's change this to, we'll just put, there we go, test 2. There we go. Nice and easy for us. All right, and the name. Now the name is going to be whatever the chemical is called, or whatever material it is that you're putting down. So for this, we're going to put second webinar test, and this is just going to be whatever the name of the chemical is that you're using. Now the EPA number, you're going to find that's just going to be a number that comes with the chemical. You should be able to find that on the package or whatever, but you guys should be able to find the EPA number, and this is mostly just for tracking purposes. Now the rate per 1,000, cost per 1,000, measuring unit, and cost per unit, these can be a little confusing just because of the order in. What we're going to do, I'm actually going to start out here. We're going to take our measuring unit. Now for this instance, let's take our drop down. So we have pounds, gallons, ounces, and liters. If we need to add another one for whatever, let's go with pints. We could use pints. So we could set one up here. We could add it and we could type it in. But since you guys, I'm sure none of you guys use pints, so I was just doing that just as a reference to show you guys how you can add a new unit. Generally in CLIP, whenever there's 3 dots, that means you can add or edit the list. But we're going to use, let's see, for this, let's use ounces for this example. Now, we have our measuring unit is ounces, so cost for 1 unit. So for 1 ounce, what's our cost going to be? Well, we're going to put here, let's put $10. $10 is how much it costs per ounce. Now, that's kind of expensive, but this is just...
It's a really expensive chemical at this webinar.
So, all right, so $10 per ounce. So we know what it costs for 1 ounce, but how many ounces do we need per 1,000 square feet? So depending on the chemical, it's going to vary. So for this particular second webinar test, that's the name of our chemical that we're using. We're going to say that it takes 2. It takes 2 ounces per 1,000 square feet. So we're going to put that in there. Now the only other field here with cost and stuff, they all kind of go together, is the cost per 1,000. The cost per 1,000 is this. We know that it takes 2 ounces to do 1,000 square feet. Now our cost per 1,000 is how much does that cost us. So if it's 2,000, if it takes 2 ounces per 1,000 square feet, 2 times 10 is 20. So our cost per 1,000 is going to be 20. Let me just change that there. $20 per 1,000 square feet. And this is all mostly for material tracking, so you can keep track of your materials, how much you use, how much it costs, and pulling different reports and stuff as well. So that's the main cost ones that we have here. Now your active ingredient name, that also should be on the package of the chemical that you buy. So that's that active ingredient percentage. How much of that chemical, how much percentage of the chemical is the active ingredient? So you can fill that in as well. And a lot of times, some state's going to require you to keep track of all this material, and you can pass that out to your customers as well, so if they need to have that information. Formulation type, that is, you can just put in the name, whatever that does for you, your own name for that.
Yeah,
for this.
So if you mix chemicals or something like that, you can give it your own personal name for whatever you call that mix.
Right. Now your method of application, that's simply whether it's, is it liquid, are you spraying it on, or is it granules that you're applying to the lawn? And your target organism, what are you trying to do with this? Are you trying to get rid of crabgrass, or are you trying to get rid of some insects or something? You specify that here.
All right, and then so we'll just go ahead and save this. and then return. And then the next thing that we'll need to set up under System, Chemical List, same place, is lawn conditions. And these can be very useful to you as you're doing the properties for the customers that you have, and you go to lawn and your crew realizes that it has a broken sprinkler head, let's say, and you offer the services for repairing the broken sprinkler heads. And they can write that in on the route sheets or do it electronically in Clip2Go from a pull-down list, and they can say that this customer needs a broken sprinkler. And then when you record all the work, that'll be recorded into the customer's history and everything. And then after that, we'll show you how to do this later, but you can send an email to everyone who has a lawn condition entered and put in your custom message right there. And then it'll send the email, and I'll just show you right here. And then you can use it to upsell your customers. And it's specific to their lawn. They trust you as your landscaper, so it's a great resource that you can use to grow your business. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Put in the code description and then whatever you want to say in the email. So and you can add a new one by clicking Add. So then the last thing we'll need to set up before we get to patterns is the weather conditions. And
all right, someone just commented that we're having a little trouble with the audio. Just want to check if you can give us any feedback. If we need to change something that we're doing, let us know. Maybe it
could just be your speakers or something on those.
But definitely let us know if there's a lot of people having some trouble with the audio. Give us feedback there in the comments, and we'll
try to figure that out.
We'll adjust it for us.
All right, so it looks like we're having trouble hearing me, so I'll try to speak a little bit louder. This weather condition, we'll see what you'll be able to do is you can add as many weather conditions as you need, and then partly cloudy, partly sunny, and sometimes you need to actually record, according to your state, the actual weather condition when you apply the chemical, and so you could do that easily in Clip when they record the work. It's the same sort of thing. They can just put in the weather condition just like they could put in the lawn condition, either manually with the route sheets or electronically with the Clip2Go, and you can just transfer it all into Clip, and it's easier with the Clip2Go. All right, and so now we can go ahead and get into our pattern programs. Patterns, as many of you already know, when we fill in a pattern, we can then fill in all of the information we filled into the pattern to the customer, so we don't have to enter in the same information over and over again from the customer screen. Then we will edit it specifically for that customer. So with pattern programs, it works just the same way. We'll start off by adding a new pattern program, and here you'll put in a 5-digit code. So I'll just call this
You can call it test, or we might have used that one already.
I think so. So we'll go ahead and press OK. And then from here, we can add as many rounds as we need. Now, some companies, they have one program and all of the rounds of any chemical application they do on a property under the rounds. Other companies, they have a 3-round program, a 4-round program, and they offer the different services to the different customers. Clip Lawn Care, we have one program, and we offer only that program, all or nothing, to our customers. If they start in the middle of the season, just the program for the rest of the season, etc. So it just depends on you and your company. So here I'll just add another separate program, and I will add 4 rounds to this and press OK. And here it automatically put in 4 rounds. If you want to add more rounds later on, if you decide to change your mind or something along those lines, you can always just click this Add button and add more, and it'll automatically make it round 5, and then you can change the name from there. And changing the name is actually the first thing that we're going to do. So we'll call this one the early spring. There we go. And then round 2, we'll go ahead and make that there we go, early summer. I guess I could have just called the other one plain old spring. And then the next one, we'll make that late summer.
And you can notice as she's typing it in here, once we go to the next one, it saves it and it changes the name there over in the list.
There we go. Right, and so now we have all our names added for each of the rounds. And then here you'll see the type. It automatically made it round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, and then if you added another one later on, it would make it round 5. So you can see that there. And then let me just make sure I'm not missing anything else on this screen. All right, so now we'll go ahead and go to the billing tab. And with programs and rounds, we have a great feature that you can use that saves a lot of time. If you is a pricing sheet, and they'll automatically calculate the price according to the area of each customer that you add this program to. And you can make the price calculate differently for different rounds if different chemicals are more expensive or anything along those lines, harder to apply, spraying versus granule, just anything that you need. Very customizable, and we'll go ahead and show you how that works. And Stephen, you can go ahead and describe that for us.
All right, thank you. All right, so we have the pricing sheet here. So in order to use the pricing sheet, you actually do need to check Use Pricing Sheet. Once you have that checked, it will then bring up another button underneath it that says Create Pricing Sheet. Again, I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and this is my pricing sheet template or whatever. So we're going to go for a fixed charge. Now, a fixed charge, that is how much you're going to charge your customers no matter what. So it's kind of like a service call charge. So if someone comes out to your house, let's say comes out to fix like a washing machine. If they come out to fix a washing machine, they're going to give you a standard service charge, and that is what this would be. So like the fixed charge could be $20. You could charge $20 for going out to someone's house. Now, once you have the fixed charge in, that may not be your minimum charge. You may have a minimum charge that's going to be, we're going to put $30 in. So what this is saying is we're going to charge you $20 for coming out to your house. But we're going to charge, the total charge is going to be at least $30.
So we'll see later on how that plays out.
Minimum man hours, and we can put in for our records here, we'll put 0.5. Just so we know it's going to take a minimum of half an hour for each job. So on this one, so we're going to generate every 100 square feet, and that's fine. We can vary that, and I'll show you how this number here will come into effect later and where that's useful. But 100 square feet is generally a good number to go by here for this.
But it depends on your company.
Right. So we have this set up here. Range 1 is going to be, and you can change this. This varies a lot depending on your company. I know some customers mostly do residential. Some customers, I was talking to a customer the other week, and they're out in Kentucky, and they do horse farms out there. So they're going to have 100, over 100. Their highest range is going to be up to 100,000 square feet. So that's quite a bit. But most of you who just have commercial customers or smaller areas of land that you do can change these numbers here. So the first range is 0 to 5,000 square feet. And what we're going to change this here, our price is going to be $6 per 1,000 square feet.
Yeah, we're just going to use an even number so we can show you the calculations afterwards. And then we can just leave the rest of them the same.
Right. And now we can leave that there. So the next range is 5,000 to 10,000 square feet. Now this is another 5,000 square foot range. But what we're going to do, we're going to bump the price per 1,000 square feet here to 5, because if we're doing a bigger area, we might have different equipment that we use, and it might not take as long. So the charge might not be as much depending on the equipment, and if you're doing a bigger area, sometimes you're going to charge less for the more that you do. And the man hours, you can see that drops as well. So the last one here is 10,000 to 15,000 square feet, and the price per 1,000 for that, we're going to make that 4. And we're just keeping with whole numbers just to make it real easy for us whenever we go to actually look at the pricing list.
Yeah, and before we look at the list, what the math of it, what it's going to do is first, and we'll show you this in a second, it'll be clear, but first the minimum charge is 30, but once it gets to, let's say if my lawn was 5,000 square feet, so it'll take 6, and it's $6 per 1,000 square feet, so it'll multiply 6 times 5, which is 30, and then it'll add the fixed charge, which $20, so it'll make it 50. So we'll go ahead and see that here.
Right. So I'm going to hit fill, and this will fill out our pricing sheet. So this is our pricing sheet here. So if you look at this, we're showing, so if it's a 0 square foot property, it's going to cost us $30. Now, you're not going to do a 0 square foot property, but if it's a 100 square foot property, you're charging $30. Now, the $30, the $20 is the service charge, and
that factors into the minimum charge, so
right.
you'll want to keep that in your calculations when you decide what the minimum charge will be.
So we're going to scroll down because we're going to see, and maybe we should have used different numbers to get a little higher, but if we look at this, we're going to see that any property, so here's where the price, here's where it's $30, so at anything above 1,700 square feet, we start having to bump up the price. Now it's minor, but we are bumping up the price here. So.
And now, see, when we said it regenerate every 100 square feet, you can change that. That's why it's every 1,700 and 1,800 have different prices, because we said do it every 100 square feet. You can change it to every 1,000 square feet, just whatever you want. So right. It can be as particular as you want.
That's right. So this is the pricing sheet and how it works. And you can notice that as you go, okay, so here's 5,000 square feet is going to cost $50. And you get that by doing, because we said that
or it cost us $6 per 1,000 square feet, and it's 5,000 square feet. So you multiply 6 times 5, and then you add the fixed charge of $20, and you get $50.
Right. The 6 times 5 is 30, plus the $20 service charge gives us the $50 total price that you're going to charge your customers.
Mm-hmm. And one other note, in this pricing sheet, you may not know, but you can edit them in this pricing sheet. I know we've had some customers who didn't know that, and they tried to redo it to make one number exactly what they wanted. But if you just change it to 60 right there and press save, then you can do that as well. But we'll just leave it with 50 for now. All right. So I think that's everything with the pricing sheet. Right,
that kind of goes over our pricing sheet.
So now we'll do return, and there are other calculations that when we add it to the customer, we'll show you as well. So here we'll go ahead to the notes. The tech notes, that's kind of like route sheet notes for the specific technician. It'll show up on the route sheets. Invoice notes, that'll show up in the invoice of the customer. One handy thing, this little button right here, it's kind of like a global replacement, only available in the pattern. So if you want to change the tech note in all of the rounds or all of round 4 for every customer that has round 4 of this program, then you can do that and click that button, and it'll push it over to all of the customers.
Another thing very similar to this feature here, we also have under the regular details here. So if we wanted to change the name, so say we wanted to change this to, go ahead and change it to, let's change it to late fall. What we would do, I'd check this little update button, and this does the very same thing. Let me save this here. I would update to all rounds, and this would push it out and make this change to late fall to all customers who have this particular program and round. And it's just a way of doing it to save you having to go into each of the customers individually and changing the name or updating the crew or the route number or the area. It's just a way to make it easier for you guys.
Mm-hmm. And then here we also have, after the Notes tab, the Materials tab, and here you can add those materials that you added from the system's chemical list. So we'll just go ahead and we'll add the one that we just made today, and then select that. And then do we want to add this material to all the customers that have this round? And then we can say yes, and that's kind of the same thing, the global replacement sort of a thing, so you can push that. If you change a chemical in a certain round, then this is an easy way to do that, and only from the pattern can you do it, not from any customer's screen. And then you can add and delete them there as well. So we could just check that and delete it if we wanted to. And then here we have link codes. This is where you just put in the billing information, so the item and the class. We'll just go ahead and we'll just click anything. I don't think we have, this is just test data, so it's not what you would have in your company, obviously.
Right, but this step here, especially if you're using QClip, it is important to make sure that you assign the correct item to your particular round. Very similar like with jobs. For each job, you need to have an item assigned to that. This is just, you don't want to miss this step if you're running QClip.
Right. So then we also have add-ons, and this is just like relating jobs. So it can go on the route sheet with the same job. It works just the same way as that. You can add the jobs with this button, and then again, you always have this little update all rounds option right there for your convenience. All right, so I think that goes over everything we wanted to do with that. So we'll save and return, and then let's go ahead and add a pattern program to a customer. So I'll click on my customer, and then we'll go over here to the nice handy Programs tab. And then let me just catch up in my notes here. So the first thing that we'll want to do is add the program, obviously. And they already have one program added, the extra program. And then so we'll just go ahead and add another one, the one that we just made today, the webinar test. So I'll give him 5,000 square feet. Crew number 1 is fine. This is just the routing sequence number. And then the charge per job here. Now we set up our pricing sheet, and one note, actually we forgot to mention, we only did that for the first round. You would want to set it up for each individual round, and you can, that way you can make it different for each of the rounds, or you can just make it the same for each of the rounds. That's one thing, you only set it up once, not very hard, not a big deal, and then it'll apply it to all of the customers when you add the job. So I'll leave that blank because that will override the pricing sheet if I enter a price in there. So then the billing type, just to note, the including contract option won't come up unless you've already added or created or made your customer an installment customer. So I'll just click that to per service. Tax code D is fine for that. The map location you can add there. And then this box is an interesting little field we have in CLIP. It's the job difficulty box. If you leave it at 1 or 0, CLIP will assume that this job is a normal job, not extra difficult, not extra easy. But we can make it extra difficult, and we can factor that in. What this does is it factors that into the price. So if I want to make it or raise the price by 10% for this particular customer.
Like for example, let's say your crews had to go out, and one house they had a big cliff in the back. Half the garden was at the top of the cliff, the other half was at the bottom. The crews had to rappel down the cliff to get to apply the chemical to the garden at the bottom. Then this would be considered a very difficult job, and you would want to bump the job difficulty up for that.
Right, especially if they had to climb up the cliff afterwards.
Right.
All right, so in that case, we might want to make it 90% higher, the price 90% higher. So then I would do 1.9 would increase the price by 90%, 0.8, 80%, 0.7, 7%, or 1.8, 1.7, excuse me. And if I wanted to decrease it, if it was extra easy, if it was located right next to your shop, the crews just went out there, did it real quick, and came back, then I could decrease the price if I wanted to by doing 0.1, and it would decrease the price by 10%, 0.2, 20%, etc. So that's the way that works, and we'll just leave it at 0 so we can see how our pricing sheet works with the default things that we added.
0 and 1 are the same because it doesn't change.
Either 0 or 1 is fine if you don't want to do anything. So we'll go ahead and click Add. And then here I have all my 4 rounds with the names that I gave them. Note only this one calculated the price, and that's because we didn't do the pricing sheet to the other rounds in the pattern. So you'd want to make sure you do that to each of the rounds, like I said earlier. All right, so then we have some fields we'll go over here. First, the way that this works is you want to set it up in the pattern so that it's active, and then when you add it, it'll be active to the customer. After CLIP does the job, it'll change it to D, which is done this year. And this is important because at the end of the year, you can do a global or end of year function that'll change every round that's D back to A. And so that's an easy feature. It'll change everything at once, and we'll show you how to do that later. If the customer decides they don't want this program anymore, canceling it completely, they don't want it next year or ever again, then you'll go ahead and you can do a hold, do not do, and actually this is only if they never want this specific round ever again. Or if they don't want the program, the entire program, you can just check this box here and that puts that on hold. All right, so the other option we have is skip this year, and that is if your customer comes in the middle of the season and you only want to do the last 2 rounds, you can do skip this year for the first 2 rounds and do it that way. So we'll just leave that as active so that we can record it later on. And then let me just make sure that I have everything here. We have a feature here, the Update Data button, and we've had this for a few years, but we did recently add some fields to this screen, and Stephen will show us how this works.
So how this works, the Update Data, let's say you have this particular customer and you need to change something about this customer. We click that button. These are different options that we can change. If we need to change the crew, so right now we're set to crew 1, but let's say for whatever reason, this job, we got a bunch more customers in this other area, so we want to change this to crew 3. So I'd go ahead and type 3 in here. Routing number, right now my routing number, that's a high routing number, but that doesn't matter. So I'm just going to change my routing number. Let's change it to 25. Or 20 is good too. 25 is perfect. Application, if I want to change an application, I could. I want to change the tax type. And also, if I wanted to change the charge per job, now this would, by changing the charge per job, this would take it off of the pricing sheet, which I don't really want to do at this time. So, this could be if I wanted one unified price for all my customers. So actually, we could do that for all the rounds of this customer. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do the charge per job to, let's make it 55. Let's go to 55. And our build type, we're changing that, man-hour rating. And again, if you need to change any of the items or class that you have it linked to in QuickBooks, so when I hit process, this will replace all rounds with the new data. So I'll hit yes.
And that's just for this customer.
Just for this customer, right. 4 rounds changed. So we'll look here. So everything, the price is now 55. The crew is now 3, and my route number is 25. I can go through here and just double check, just to make sure everything copied over right, and it looks like we're set. So this is just another neat little trick you can have. Maybe the customer has, maybe you need to do, maybe the customer, they bought the lot next to their house or whatever, and they're, trying to make that look good as well, so they want you to apply the application to the neighboring yard as well. It could still be under the same house. You'd have to update the charge per job for that. So
it's an easy way to change some data if you need to. And then over here we have the program notes. This works just the same as the notes that you have on the job screen. Limited tech notes, and then the tech notes, which is the same as route sheet notes, and then the customer note is like the invoice note. And then here we have the program estimate, and this is handy. Now we won't really go over this hardly at all today, because it's pretty in-depth to set up. And we have a webinar already on that on our webinars page. If you go to clip.com and then click on support and click on webinars, then it's there. And what it does is you can generate an estimate from this screen that will be sent out to the customer. You can choose the template that you want, check off the services, click generate, and then it's as easy as that. Print it off, send it to your customer, or just email it to them. And so that is how that works. All right, so after we've entered all that information for our new program and round, we can hit save and then close out of that. And now, after the crew, or when the crew goes out and does the job, and then they either send the route sheets back to you, or they automatically go in through Clip to Go. Before any of that happens, before it'll go into the workbank, before it goes to the rounds and you can print the route sheets and everything, you need to do round invoices. And the reason for this is because of the way that chemical applications work.
Right. They don't have their own specific scheduling screen like all the rest of your jobs do. Now there are many similarities between them, but the scheduling screen is missing. And if you don't have a scheduling screen, you might think, well, this is kind of hard to put in the workbank. How do I schedule it? How do I assign the next visit date? So Cherish is just going to go over this.
Then this is what you do. You do click on the rounds invoices, and this sheet pops up. This screen pops up here. And this is so that if you if it's really bad weather, applying chemicals can get kind of finicky. If it's this type of weather, you can't apply a certain chemical. So this allows you to just push all of the rounds out at once when it's the proper time, and even for specific customers. So go ahead and
it's very similar to zone jobs and how we use zone jobs. You activate zone jobs all at once. You activate zone jobs in this area. So this is very similar to how that works. But this is
and
a little
in case
bit
you
more,
don't know, zone jobs are specifically for snow plowing.
Mostly used for snow plowing. For a while they were used for programs and rounds, but we developed this system and found this works a lot better than zone jobs for chemical applications. So, all right, so here we have it, and we're going to add this program to the customer, or we're not adding anything to a customer. The customer already has this particular program to it. So I'm going to select the program because it's this time of year and it's early spring. Now I'm getting a little excited. I'm ready for spring, but it's early spring. We're going to imagine. So I'm going to check because it's time for the first round. It's good. The weather's right. Our crews can get out there and do it. I'm also going to just change this to 1 because I know we do a lot of testing on this. Whoops.
But what could that field be used for?
This field is used for, let's say you go out, you put this out here and you do round 1. Let's say it takes a full month for you to do the chemical applications, for you to do round 1. So the next month comes around and you only just finished the last round. When you go to do round 2, you don't really want to go put round 2 on a house that you just did 2 or 3 days ago because that was last month. So you're going to want to set this day since last visit and since last service, and that will help keep that down. So this will only put jobs in the word bank that were done
a certain number of days ago.
And you can adjust that to whatever it needs to be. So once we have this set crews, I know it was crew 3, but it doesn't matter. You can specify the crew number, and you could do just certain zip codes. It's another way to just limit which ones show up. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and hit this next button, and this shows me my customer, or it shows me early spring. Now I don't have any other customers signed up for this particular program and round. If I wanted to have more customers on this list, I could either add this program around to it, or I could come back here and I could say, let's do this one. Let's add the first round there. And I'm not sure which ones have.
I think there's another customer that we've set up with one, but I don't remember.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
And this tells us here which round we're doing. So I just want to do Sam Ting here, round 1, early spring. So that's good for me. So I'm happy with that. That's all set. So I'm not going to check the other ones. I'm only going to check the one that I'm going to do. And sorry.
Right. And then one thing also, let's say that we do go ahead and say that all these are checked. And this feature is a handy little feature that we can use. You just click on that little map icon, and then this comes up, and you can see where all of these are, and there are only 3, and they're in very different locations here. But the idea of this, we'll go back, is that we can select a specific area that we want to check off with the jobs. So I can go ahead, and we can see them all here. There we go. So we'll go ahead and now.
We just want to do Sam here. So what I'm going to go ahead. Jeff.
So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and just use the right button on your mouse and then make a box, and you can choose only him. If you expanded it, you could choose all of them. That's just for you, so you can choose a specific area. Instead of doing zip codes, you could do it this way as well. And then I'll only check him, and then I'll do process and return, and it unchecked these 2 and only checked him.
Right, so that's just another neat little trick there with using map point. So now that we have Sam marked, we're getting ready to do his job. So I'm going to go to the print options. Now these print options here, I can print the company applicators, and depending what state you're on, depending on the state regulations, you may be required to show more information or different information. So we've tried to include everything here. if you need it, you can check it here on your list on the invoice to print. So you can print the company applicator license. You can include history for this customer. You can include job in history. All this information here, and this is very similar to this is basically printing out an invoice that you can leave behind with the customer, or so you can leave behind with the customer.
Because some people are required to do that.
Right. Some states you're required to leave a little paper at the property saying this is what we did, this is what we put on, these were the weather conditions, and you also need some of those records for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And some companies just like doing it as a service to their customers. Clip Lawn Care doesn't. We don't have to. We leave a little flag.
Right. So here we can also check what we want. Do we want a driver's report, a call ahead list, a summary sheet, or an invoice? I'm just going to go ahead and check with the regular invoice. Someone asked, can you print state-specific information? That's a good question. Depending what information it is, I'm pretty sure we have customers in all states that use this. What you could do, if you have questions about getting information to show up at that, I would definitely contact support. Send us an email with what information is missing or what information you need, and we can work with you on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of customizable fields here that you can customize to your state, and it just depends on how your state works. And if you're having trouble with something that you need to add to it, like you said, email support@clip.com or give them a call and they can help you out.
I know some customers even, I'm not sure if we have everything on our invoice for all 50 states, but I know some customers, what they'll do, they'll just customize a header for the invoice, and they'll include information on the invoice, and the crews then can just put in whatever information they need to. They'll have it all printed out and everything. They just need to fill in the information. Mm-hmm. So that's another option. But definitely, if you have questions about getting information on your invoices that you need for your state, definitely give us a call, and we'll do what we can do. So I'm going to hit print now that I have this all checked out. And again, I'm just printing my invoice. So I'll hit print here. And this brings up, I'm not actually going to print it off because I don't need a copy of it. That's fine. I'm going to mark it as printed.
And what does that mean when you say you mark it as printed?
Right. So if I mark it as printed, that means this job is ready to be done. This job will be in the workbank, and it needs to be done. It'll stay in the workbank until you refresh the workbank, or sorry, until you mark the job is done, until you record it and post it. It'll stay in the workbank. If you hit no, that you're not marking it as printed, it'll appear in the workbank. But if you refresh the workbank, or if you do changes, if you run through support menu, it will clear it out of the workbank. It can be cleared out of the workbank unless you mark it as printed. So we want it to be marked as printed, so I'm going to hit yes. And I can also show you how this comes up here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to return out of here because this just brings us back. If we wanted to go now with another round, we could do that, but we just have one round that we're working with today. So let's go to record work, and we were using crew 3. So I'm going to put my crew range in here. Crew 3, and I'm going to see what jobs are to be done. So now that this job is in the workbank, I can print route sheets out to this for this particular crew. Crew 3, I can print a route sheet for crew 3, or even if it's sitting in here, I could upload it to Clip2Go, and it would appear the Clip2Go. You'd log in to the website. Your crew 3 would log in. They would see that they have this job, and they could mark it and put all the information they need to down when they do this. So you can record this job. You can do this with paper, normal regular route sheets, or you could use Clip2Go for this. It's the same way. Once it's in the workbank, that's where Clip2Go comes in.
Right. And so we'll just go through, if you did do it manually with route sheets, and then at the end of the day they bring you the route sheets and you're sitting at the computer and need to enter in all the information. So what I would do here is just mark it as done by typing Y in that field, and let's see here, refresh the workbank and then keep.
That's fine. We didn't refresh the workbank. I was running through some tests on here, but it went ahead and recorded it for us. So it is marked. Right. It is marked as done. But you'll have to hit R for record, and that will bring up our record options. And maybe we need to do that. So let me me just back out here real quick for us. The jobs. And if we hit T, that will refresh the workbank for today. Just a neat little trick there. So let's go back into our workbank and let me see, record times. Okay, that's good. Mark work is done. So here we go. So crew 3. Go ahead and hit R. And this brings up to the record work screen.
Right, and so here we can record everything like normal. We have the times, we'll just say that they were there till 8:30 a.m. And then we can put a foreman in and everything else that we need there. But what I really want to draw your attention to is this down here, which is specific to the chemical applications or programs and routes. So we can put the wind speed if we need to, and the weather condition, this is that list that we set up earlier, or showed you how to set up at least. We can put that in there, partly cloudy. The wind direction if we need to. I guess that I should have done that after the wind speed. And then here's where we can choose the lawn condition. And we can add more than one lawn condition. Maybe a lawn needs to be watered and has a broken sprinkler head. That would go together, wouldn't it? So we can go ahead and do that here. And then I'll press save. And then as soon as I'm done recording it and everything, then that will be in the customer's history, the lawn condition and everything.
Once you post it.
Right. And so you can see that in the customer's history if you need to. And that's even just another, if a customer doubts that you were there, you can say, I was there, your lawn needed water, it had a broken sprinkler. It's even just more evidence to prove that you were definitely there at that time. So here, and a handy little feature if you're not using Clip2Go and you're recording it by hand, if it's the weather condition at least would be probably the same for all of the crews that were in that area on the route sheets you see. So you can set up the default here, and even the lawn condition you can set up here as well, and then press reset defaults, and then for everyone else that you enter that you're recording the work for, it'll automatically put this information in there, and then you can edit from there if you need to. And that's just a handy little feature. And next time tomorrow when you're recording work and it's different, you can reset the default again just at the beginning of each time you record work. So that just makes it a little bit easier for you. And let's see, I think that's everything we need to go over in this screen. All right, so I'll go ahead and press save and return.
That's fine.
And that's fine. It's just us telling me I didn't put a foreman in there. And then save and return.
Go ahead and post. You can go ahead and post this job, and we can take a look at the customer then and just show you how it changes it. So I'm not too concerned about the dates and stuff since this is just samples. So I'm just going to head and post it, and that's fine. I don't need a list of work done. Generally, it's a good idea to print those out if you're so you have an actual record, another record for your customers. So let's come back into SAM here. I'm going to go to Programs. And if I come here to our W test, I notice that this early spring is now changed to done this year. Done this year. If I went in, it was marked as printed. That was that option, marked as printed. But as soon as I done it, it reset that. So as soon as the job was completed and posted, it then unchecked this. So this job is now set to be done. And we can even look in the customer history and just early spring.
And then let's see here. And then when we double click on this, we can see all of the other information: partly cloudy, wind direction, it needed water, and it had a broken sprinkler head. So that's how you can see all of that information in there. I know it doesn't look like you can click on that screen, but you can and see even more information if you need to. All right, so then we're done with that.
Well, the other thing that we were going to go over was the global replace, or the end of your functions. So this particular job, I'm just going to open this customer back up again just so we can take a look so we're on the same track. And let me go to W test. So you see how we note here, see it's marked, it's red, and it's done this year. So what I'm going to do, there's a couple of things I can look at. I can check the job number. Now this is the job number. You don't really use the job number for programs and rounds. They're there, but you're not going to use them.
Well, actually we will use it when we send the job activity emails.
Right.
So that would be the main time that you would use it.
And this is going to be, well, this is your program code. And I'll show you here where this asks for us. We don't really need the job number at this moment. We can maybe just keep track and remember that it's 5089. So now that we have that remembered, what we'll do, I'm going to back out of here, and we're going to go into Files, Global Replacement, End of Year Functions, all the way down the bottom. Now, before you do an End of Year Functions, it is very advisable to do a backup, because sometimes, because a global End of Year Function is a global replacement, you can do a lot of changes to all of your data really quickly. So if you're a little hesitant, not quite sure what you're doing, make a backup first, and you can't go wrong with that, because we can always help you guys restore your backup. So I'm going to go ahead and click End of Year Functions. The one that we need is to reset programs and rounds. Now the program code, that was WTest. That's the program code that we used for this program. And
now if we leave it blank, will it do it for all the programs?
it would.
Okay.
It would do it for all programs. So I'm going to choose condition. And again, this is, you could use your job number here, but since I'm only doing it for that one program, I'm just going to do is greater than 0, and this is going to cover everything.
So if we didn't put a condition in, it would just do it for everyone.
If we didn't put a condition in, it wouldn't do it for everyone.
It would do it for everyone.
It would do it.
Right.
Well, we're telling it to do it for everyone.
Right.
So here we have it set, reset programs around WTest. Our condition, any job greater than 0. So I'm going to hit process. One replacement done. Now, if I didn't specify this WTest, it would have gone through and done and replaced all of my programs. But since I specified to do this WTest, I only did that one program, and there's only one round that was actually done. So I'm going to hit OK. And what we'll do, we'll go back here, and I'm just going to open up that customer just so we can see how that affects us. So now let me go here. So now it's normal again, and it's active. So ready to be done, ready to be, go through rounds invoices and do this job again. So that's how the global replacement End of Year Functions works for programs and rounds.
All right, and so then the last thing that we'll show you today, and if you have any questions about anything we've been going over, type that into the question mark box. We will have a couple of minutes. We can hit some of those if you have any. And then let's see, we'll go over here. And then so the next thing we'll do is when we set up those lawn conditions, and we want to send out an email to everyone who had a lawn condition to upsell, then the way that we would do that is just go to Contact Management and then Job Activity Emails. And here you can set up a bunch of different templates. And we have some, these are some that we've used for Clip Lawn Care. You can set up a new template by clicking this plus icon here. I already set up one for this webinar, so I'll just go ahead and use that one.
The other thing you do need to check with this is make sure that your customer is set up for service to receive service notes.
Oh, right, and we'll show you that right after we do this, how to set up your customer to make sure. Because any customer that's not set up to receive those notes won't receive these notifications. All right, so, and in this case, we can put in the crew range if we like, and then the job numbers, that's that number. It's 5089, that's for the program or the round that we did.
Job.
So we'll go ahead and put that there. And then the date range, we can add that if we want to. And then here I've already entered the subject for this template or this email. And then in the top of the email, it's going to say we were at your property and found the following. You can make it a lot more extensive if you want. And then I'll choose the things that I want to add. I want to add the lawn condition at least. And then I can add any of these other things that I like. And then at the bottom of the email, this is kind of your signature. And you'd obviously want more than this. And you can say if you had any questions, please call, and then that phone number. And then here, we can do the after, this is an after service notification. We were at your lawn, we saw these conditions. So we would go ahead and do that, and it would process it and email it to the customers that needed to be emailed to. One other note, the pre-service notifications, that's if your customers want, some of your customers want you to call them a day before you, or email them a day before you come to their property and do the application.
A good example of that is sometimes customers have their they have their yard locked, they have a gate and stuff set up so you can't get in. So they'll need to actually be there when you come. So they'll want to know ahead of time whenever you're coming.
Oh, right. And so we'll go ahead and I'll just return because I don't need to send any emails. I don't even know if that email has an email address. So, and let's go ahead and look at some of the questions
we have some
here.
good questions. One question here is, how do we add a program? So the easiest way to add a program, once you have the program, I'm not sure if that's adding a program from the pattern or adding it to a customer. We'll go ahead and add it to a customer. So we'll go back into the customer list, and we
can add a different program to him.
So
but it's just
this. It's the green plus add button up at the top above the list, and you can choose here in your step ones which program you want to add. These are going to be your pattern programs, and
that you already set up previously.
And again, you can set up your pattern programs. If we return out of this screen here, here's your pattern programs.
So you'd set those up first and then add them to the customer.
And again, you can add a program to the pattern program list by the green add button up top.
Right.
Let's see, what else do we have? Yes, someone asked, do you need to do the end of your function global replacement if you're going in order for the job to become active? Yes, you will need to do that.
Right, and it's like you just saw, it's easy just at the end of the year, the one-time thing, and then it'll do that for you.
We do have a manual on our website for end-of-year functions. It's just a real short one, I believe, but if you have questions, you can refer to the manual or give us a call, send us an email for more specific information on that.
And then let's see here, and send an email after the customer, or Ian asked if you can send an email to a customer after the programming round is done. You could do that just like we did through the job activity emails and set it up that way and say that in the email and the template that you wanted to do it. But let's go ahead. We want to look and show how to make sure that they're getting the service notifications, make sure that they're checked to receive the emails before we send the emails out, because otherwise they won't go to the customer.
It won't send it to a customer. It won't even come up on the list unless you, let me open up here. So here's our customer. We're going to need an email address. So let's put service@clip.com. And what I'm going to do, hit save here. So what I'm going to need to do, I'm going to go to more phone numbers, and here's my email address that I'll automatically copied over here from the main customer screen. I'm going to check service notes, and doing this will enable me to email service notes, either pre-service notifications or just letting customers, or just service notes to the customer.
Right, so you can choose specific email addresses if your customer has more than one email address, if they only want those emails to go to one person, and etc.
And we have another question here. Can programs be done every other year? Yeah, the easiest way to set that up is going to be, just don't, what I would do for that, I would go ahead and set my program, that's my pattern jobs, let me go into my pattern program. So I would set up different programs. So this is going to be your year 1 program, this is going to be your year 2 program. I would just have them all set up, add them to both your customers, then in our rounds invoices, it's year 1. So what we'll do, we wouldn't even check the one that's called year 2. We would just do the first one. Then the next year, we'd do the same, just the opposite. We'd just do the year 2. So that's how you would do that if you had programs that were done one year and then you had a different one that was done the next year. That would be the easiest way to have set that one up.
All right, and so I think that's everything we have time for. There were a couple of questions we didn't get to. Just email those to support@clip.com and they can help you out with that. One other thing, we just scheduled our CLIP classes. I know a lot of you in the poll that we had originally are new. This is your first webinar. I don't know if that means you're new to ClipXC or not, but if you have office assistants that are new in this spring that you just hired, the CLIP classes are a great thing to go to attend. They're very, very basic beginner classes for ClipXC, and so you can go ahead and sign up for those. The best person to email would be either support@clip.com or your account administrator, either Bill or Michael. So you can email them or call them and they can set you up for that. For ClipXC, that's free. For desktop versions, it's $90 a class, $300 if you want all 4. And it just goes over basic things in Clip. And we also, if you're having trouble training people, you can check out our blog, which you can find through clip.com, and I'll go ahead and bring that up right here. Just 1 second. All right. So here is clip.com, and you can go to the blog just by clicking that right there. And we've found a great way of training people that's extremely easy on our part. Our blog outlines a little bit of our system, so you can go ahead and either comment on the blog or post on our Clip form with what you use and what your systems are. And I'll just show you right here. This is our Clip form. ClipXC members, this is free to you, or this is available to you, and there's lots of action going on, and you can go ahead and get more information through that form that we have just started. There is a survey at the close of this webinar right after we end. You can go ahead and please fill that out. I think it's about 4 or 5 questions. It'll only take a second. We really appreciate your feedback. Please fill that out. And looks like Jen was wondering where to schedule for the classes. Email support@clip.com, or you can email either Bill or Michael, whoever's your account representative. And that's everything we have time for today. Thank you so much for being our customers and joining us for this webinar today. I hope it was helpful to you. And if you have more questions, like I said, support@clip.com or give us a call. And have a great day. Your success is our business.